Hello everyone, my name is Adam and I like trains. Now, we as a creator and a viewer can disagree on a lot of things. For one, I like vanilla flavored items, while you might like chocolate. Also, as someone from the state of Delaware, I believe that New Jersey, and more specifically the New Jersey Turnpike, is the closest to hell that we have ever created. But if there's one thing that I think we can both agree on, it's that trains are pretty cool. Now let's envision a scenario. This is you, my dear viewer, and you are coming to Japan for the first time in your life. Now, as a fellow rail fan, you are super excited to ride all of the many different trains in the Tokyo metro area. But of course you don't have infinite time or maybe infinite money, because you've got to return to that ever-depressing hellscape that we call reality at some point or other. So that's where I come in. Now, I've only been living in Tokyo for about a year at this point, but because of this channel and my interest in trains, I'm a little more familiar with Tokyo's rail network than even people who've been living here longer than me are. So I want to give my recommendations to you of 5 things that you should definitely do as a rail fan coming to Tokyo for the first time, or maybe not even the first time, but just something to experience that maybe you haven't done before. Now, the only ground rule for this video is I'm going to keep it to things in the greater Tokyo area. So things that you can find in either Tokyo metropolis or the neighboring prefectures like Chiba, Kanagawa, or God forbid, something in Saitama. Also, these are things that anyone can reasonably do. They're not going to be things that cost a whole bunch of money, because it's not fair if some people can do things, but others can't. With that all being said though, if this interests you and you want to find out my recommendations for things to do in Tokyo, stick around as I tell you about 5 things that every rail fan in Tokyo should do when they visit Japan. Now, before we get into the list, I do have 2 quick things. First, if you do enjoy this video or find yourself coming back here, please consider leaving a like on this video or subscribing to my channel. We just crossed the 1,000 subscriber threshold earlier this month, and thank you all so much for your support. It really does mean a lot. And second, I have an honorable mention for this video. Now, in the north of Tokyo, you'll find Saitama Prefecture. And in Saitama Prefecture, you'll find a lot of nothing, but also the Saitama Railway Museum. Now, the reason that the Railway Museum, something that I highly recommend doing, is just an honorable mention, is because they don't allow filming inside. So even if I wanted to make a segment on it, I wouldn't be able to film in there without possibly getting kicked out and banned, and that's something I don't really want. But if you do decide to go to the Railway Museum, it's just about 45 minutes from central Tokyo and only costs about 1,600 yen a ticket. It's definitely a good way to kill time, especially on those hot days that Tokyo is infamous for. With that all being said, let's get into our first thing. The good old Yamanote line, arguably Tokyo's most famous train line. The Yamanote line is run by Japan Rail, aka JR, and it runs in a circle, well, kind of a circle, around the center of the most dense part of the metropolis. The Yamanote line connects nearly every major station in the central part of Tokyo, linking places like Shibuya, Shinjuku, and Ikebukuro to places like Ueno, Akihabara, and Shinagawa. As such, it is the busiest train line in all of Tokyo, with nearly 900 million passengers in just 2023. If the daily ridership of the Yamanote line were its own city in Japan, it would be the 4th largest, only behind Tokyo's 23 wards, Osaka, and Yokohama. If you're coming to Tokyo, you'll more than likely be riding the Yamanote line at least once. Yes, there are ways to avoid riding it, but the Yamanote line has become associated with Tokyo like the bullet train has for all of Japan. So you'd honestly be doing yourself a disservice by not riding it. But what I recommend doing, for the fun of it, is riding the Yamanote line in a complete loop from start to finish. Now, I say start and finish like a circle has a start and an ending point, but you get the idea. To travel through each of the Yamanote line's 30 stations, it takes roughly 1 hour. Trains arrive at each of the stations every 4 to 5 minutes, and are as frequent as every 2 minutes during the peak morning rush hour. However, if you do want to ride the Yamanote line in a loop, you probably shouldn't do this during the morning rush hour unless you really want to know what being a sardine is like. So the late morning or the early afternoon, or on a weekend when there are less commuters, is probably the best time to do this. What riding the Yamanote line in a loop allows you to do is travel through all of central Tokyo. While you can't see absolutely everything from the train, you'll go through famous areas like Shibuya, Harajuku, Ebisu, Akihabara, Kanda, and more. And if you can, try and go to the very front of the train to get a view out the front window, assuming the driver doesn't shut the blinds on you. Just when you do finish your loop, get out one station early or one station later, because I don't think the system will let you get out at the same station you started at. The two closest Yamanote line stations are Nippori and Nishi-Nippori at only half a kilometer apart, but I think you'd be better off doing this at Shinjuku or Yoyogi, which are 700 meters apart, or maybe Ueno and Okachimachi, which are 600 meters apart. The Yurikamome is an automated train system that serves the island of Odaiba. The line was originally constructed in the 1990s to serve housing and commercial facilities in a project originally called Tokyo Teleport Town. While the Tokyo Teleport Town project was halted, the Yurikamome was still built. Despite needing over 80,000 daily riders to turn a profit, it never received more than 30,000. This was until Odaiba was rezoned, allowing for entertainment places like malls and museums to be built. In just 1 year after this change, ridership doubled to over 60,000. Today, the Yurikamome sees over 120,000 daily riders and is an attraction in itself. So what better to do then than ride the Yurikamome and get the best train view in all of Tokyo? If you ride the Yurikamome normally, you can be stunned by the wonderful views as the trains pass over the Rainbow Bridge and circle the many attractions in the Odaiba and Toyosu areas. However, should you be lucky enough, you can get a seat at the very front or rear of the train, getting a conductor-like view. When my family visited Tokyo back in April, this was one of the most memorable experiences for them. Whenever I come to Odaiba via the Yurikamome, I'll often wait for the next train to board at Shimbashi or Toyosu stations, the two places where the line terminates, to see if I can get the all-coveted seat at the very front of the train. There's no better feeling than sitting at the front of the Yurikamome and feeling like you're driving the train. And seeing the view out the front makes me feel like a kid again. A kid who, if he was given the choice, would have instantly become a train driver. But even if you can't get to the front, taking the scenic Yurikamome is 100% worth it. And the view is a hell of a lot better than taking the underground Rinkai line, that's for sure. While much of Tokyo's railway network is in the 23 wards in the eastern part of the metropolis, to get to its most far-flung reaches, it'll take you more than 2 hours. Next up on my list is heading all the way out west to Okutama via the Ome line. Now, why should you do this? Well, I'm always a big proponent of taking the road less traveled, or rail less traveled in this case. Most who come to Tokyo never venture out into the western part of the metropolis. I should know. The first time I came to Tokyo, I spent nearly a month in the capital, but I never went further west than Shimokitazawa. But now that I live in Tokyo, I've had more opportunities to venture further out west to parts that I'd never previously explored. And this includes Okutama. From Tokyo Station, it takes about 2 hours and 15 minutes to reach Okutama Station. You first need to hop on a Chuo Line rapid service train, preferably one heading towards Ome. If yours isn't, you'll have to change at Tachikawa Station to get an Ome Line service that will take you out towards Okutama. Once you reach Ome Station, you'll transfer onto a much smaller train, on something called the Tokyo Adventure Line, that twists and turns its way along a valley carved by the Tama River. If you sit facing the left side of the train as it heads towards Okutama, or the right side as it's heading back towards Ome, you'll get a heck of a view as you pass by the small villages that make up the western part of Ome City and the town of Okutama. But what do you get by coming out here? Well, first and most importantly for you, and how you can also convince your non-train addicted friends to come out here, is that there's ample nature and opportunities for hiking out in Okutama. It does sit in a national park after all. But for the train fans out there, riding the Ome line lets you come through some of Tokyo's least visited stations. This includes Shiromaru, the stop before Okutama, which is the least used station in all of Tokyo, receiving less than 100 passengers a day. So you not only get a great view while riding the train, you can also see some of the least used stations in all of the metropolis while doing it. It's a win-win for me. If you're watching this video, you probably know what the Shinkansen is. But for those of you who just stumbled upon this video and aren't all that into trains, the Shinkansen, or bullet train, as it is commonly known in English, is Japan's high-speed intercity rail network. The Shinkansen network runs between major cities in Japan, connecting places like Tokyo to Osaka, Sendai, and even as far as Kagoshima on the southern tip of Kyushu. The Shinkansen is an icon of Japan, and it has been ever since it opened in the 1960s. In my opinion, taking the Shinkansen is something that everyone should experience, especially if you come from a country that doesn't have the best high-speed rail network, America. But not everyone has the financial means to travel to other parts of Japan. The most common route for tourists on the Shinkansen is the trip between Tokyo and Kansai. the region that includes Kyoto and Osaka. A trip between Kyoto and Tokyo on the high-speed Nozomi train costs nearly 20,000 yen one way. If you're traveling with another person, that's 80,000 yen round trip. You could book a hotel for nearly a week in many parts of Tokyo for that 80,000 yen. So then what to do? Well, for as little as 1,400 yen, you can still ride the Shinkansen intercity. I went to Tokyo Station and purchased a ticket to Shin-Yokohama Station. For an unreserved seat, I paid the base fare of 510 yen, plus the Super Express fee of 870 yen to go from Tokyo to Shin-Yokohama Station. Sure, this trip only takes about 15 minutes, but if you want to ride the Shinkansen, it's a good way to do so on the cheap. Plus, you can still do all the fun bullet train things. You can buy an ekiben, or station bento, from one of the food stalls underneath the station. I got the small box of 4 miso katsu sandwiches for a little under 1,000 yen. And you can still get a good sense of speed as you whisk through the suburbs of Tokyo, heading south. Of course, once you get to Shin-Yokohama, your journey is at an end. But maybe use this as your excuse to visit all of the fun things in and around Yokohama. You could also do this trip to the north, and take the train to Omiya Station in the city of Saitama. The tickets will cost you about 1,700 yen for unreserved seats, but the journey is a little longer at about 25 minutes. You are then stuck in Saitama, which is a fate I wouldn't wish on anyone. But hey, at least you got to ride a cool train. In Tokyo metropolis, there are about 650 train stations and about 70 total lines. But if we expand that to the greater Tokyo area, that number jumps to over 1,500 train stations and over 130 train lines. So for this final part, we're going to look outside of the Tokyo metropolis and take a look at some more unique train lines in the Tokyo area. The first of which are 2 very unique monorails. Now, Tokyo metropolis itself has 2 monorails, and if you're flying into Haneda Airport, you can use the Tokyo monorail to get into the city. There's also the Tama monorail in the city of Tama that links some of the smaller bed towns in the western suburbs together. But I'm not talking about either of these. I'm talking about the hanging monorails. The first of these hanging monorails is the Chiba Urban Monorail in Chiba City, Chiba Prefecture. The main Chiba monorail line, Line 2, takes you from Chiba Minato, Chiba Port, through the dense city and out towards its eastern suburbs. If you do make the trip all the way over to Chiba, I'd recommend stopping at Chiba Park or maybe the Chiba Zoo just to justify using the monorail. But don't do what I did and accidentally get on the wrong line and then have to backtrack into central Chiba to pick up the line going the right way. You're looking for trains towards Chishirodai, not Kensho Mae. The second hanging monorail is to the south of Tokyo in Kanagawa Prefecture. From Ofuna Station, you can pick up the Shonan monorail. This line twists and turns over the cities of Kamakura and Fujisawa, ending at Enoshima Station near the coast. The line isn't very long, only about 6 kilometers in length, but I'd highly recommend taking a ride on it. I actually rode the Shonan monorail on my first day that I'd ever spent in Japan, and that experience has stuck with me ever since. And speaking of Enoshima, the final line runs through Enoshima itself. The Enoshima Dentetsu line, or as it's better known, Enoden, is an attraction in itself. This single-track railway connects the city of Kamakura to the city of Fujisawa in Kanagawa Prefecture. Enoden has a lot of fans, both from within Japan and abroad, and the train nerd in me says it deserves all of them. The line runs right up against the houses, runs along beachfront, and even runs through the center of a road at one point. If you can, try and get a view at the front, but good luck with that. Even if you don't come during the busier tourist seasons, you'll be lucky to breathe, let alone get a seat in the ever-crowded parts in the main tourist attractions near Kamakura. But if you do come to Kamakura, which you should irrespective of the trains, Enoden is definitely worth your time. Those are my 5 recommendations. Now, if you've been to Tokyo before or you live in this area, let me know. What's something that you think I missed? And if you haven't, which one of these things are you most likely to try? But that's going to be it for me for today, and I hope you did enjoy. If you did, a like or a subscription would really help me out a lot. Not going to set any like goals or subscription goals, but as I said, I am going to be making a lot more content throughout the summer. So if that interests you, feel free to stick around or watch some of my other videos. But that's all from me for today. My name is Adam from Tokyo with love. Take care of yourselves, and goodbye.